Gilg J as Gilg Nerach.
Shame a hatch and a HOGIAU'R Guston Claare Shaw. Welcome to this programme, which is called Claare Gael. My name is Robert Catin Carso, Robert a Carslach.
Have I heard tell of old Bobby Bob?
And over the course of the next hour, you'll hear something of the English language as Nishu Clash and Per Chain Hill, yes, and you'll hear something of the Manx Gaelic as well, Mina Murray, the mother tongue of ALVAN, the Isle of Mann. As Banach and Urish. Well, the Rev Thomas Stephen's Poetical Guide of 1832 has brought us to the Chasms, and there's a site called Croncaran at the Chasms, a Neolithic stone circle which is either a burial circle or hut circle, which we'll hear him refer to next. To Mina Murray nashtris Jonathan Harker. The skriwrish a cara Lucy Westenra, as on skriwen to Lucy ginst de Mina, de vel ish jit de ve nashtnies. Ach, ons PS seg gerren skriwen die grey, skon vis femer instut, de ne foliach shaw. This coming Tuesday, the 21st of June, is International Make Music Day, La GORORAU here in the island, and so it's a day to celebrate with live music, and there's a project called On Location, inviting people to record themselves playing in an iconic spot, and post that online to celebrate the day. Now, those of you who watched the Eurovision Song Contest this year may have been surprised that the entry for France was in Breton, by Breton multi-instrumentalist ALVAN, who wrote the music, and the Breton vocal trio AHEZ, one of whom, Marine Lavigne, wrote the lyrics for Fulenn, which means spark. Tashu geestiach radio vanning, station na nation, viscoler skeliena was dulish, alin vanning.
Fulenn, treien brodeien uri shaden. Tispon kreizon ti guaden, etos a Fulenn. Treien brodeien uri shaden. La para. La
Dispon, kreis andigwaden, etans arfulen.
The trio AHEZ from Claare AHEZ, or Claare, in Brésisel, and singer and instrumentalist ALVAN, Alexis Morvan-Rosius, from Lorient, and the song in Breton, Fulenn, which they performed for France at this year's Eurovision Song Contest. Circles of stones, says the Rev Stephen, suggest that Druids once did worship here, but this may be romance. 'Tis possible some popish saint of old, heaven to conciliate, chose this fearful hold. Like Hermit Bushel, who was selded the calf, as frightful quite, more arduous by half. Well, Thomas Bushel, 1593 to 1674, was a servant of Francis Bacon, Sir Francis Bacon, and when Bacon was charged with corruption in 1621, Bushel adopted a vegetarian diet and went to the Isle of Wight to live. I'm not quite sure why this is associated with Francis Bacon being charged with corruption, but that's what he did. He did return to London, but then when Francis Bacon died of pneumonia in 1626, Thomas Bushel came and lived a hermit's life on the Isle of Mann for 3 years, living on a strict diet, so it said, of oil, honey, mustard, herbs, biscuits and water. Bushel went on to own silver and lead mines in Wales. In the Civil War he was a royalist providing finance. In fact, he held the Isle of Lundy for the royalist cause. However, he came to be on good terms with Cromwell during the Commonwealth, perhaps because of this silver and lead. Well, no, let's face it, it was because of the silver and lead. And later mining schemes were approved, such was the importance of the metals, by Charles II, so a man who was able to hedge his bets there. And Thomas Bushel is buried in the cloisters of Westminster Abbey. Scriwen Lucy Westenra agus Mina Murray, and Chearolaias feed me walden, ma Venus there, ma wis as ma wis rish, son de skriwen millish. Vege mai de we able to inch Dutch, as de redden en er shed. Ma veen, genelliach cow as ta tulligen on, sfeer tan a shan rein krine. Sja mish, as bim feed blain de eish mijn fawer, as na jai na HOGIAU'R Phuca hem der an leit on Jew, gene jiri Phuca firnjach, ach Jew te treem hem, spannie sen, 3 jirian de Phuca son onlai, na gaglach ta rish katas korm gistje na denje bachte, o Wiener, kom manres tammy na wel visse mert na de jinno, as 3 jirian Phuca. Ach, son sjenne zul je nach inch de verre bi jene ninen non een weg het smunjen de HOGIAU'R de iron lerskin credu. Well, this is Emma Christian with a lullaby for us, Arrane a cradle song, the Arrane saveenagh, the slumber song.
Iglia nu
The Arrane saveenagh, collected by Mona Douglas from Mrs. Shimon of Foxtel and sung there, and accompanied on the harp by herself, by Emma Christian. As weg het shielten er au fachid as comus gendaru manna vel, sechid la hinoch tai, shade jou eg a goed slew. Gemoer lacht de shartans de nienen. Os as mishma vina veen, tanash is giaull taiert colmas, shan mrein fos, Gamelishel, maar shan vrein foest. Wat moet say gebek, J. Moorles? Well, sign thou inch dat me gaan de tree. Ach, the ots vreel volle te me wien, bij de goeie veeg, je me de duch is J. Jonathan. Neos inch de, son jinnens, de raumies in het head, son shikkeris inch de Arthur. Liesach ben inch de goeie rit in ten je sheshek, na wel ook cordeel, me wien. A sign thou we kerach. Smilish denium rein son shikkeris nem rein jesjak, we go kerach as totsen. As genelm rein straliam grei de kindjak kjart go kerach as liesach het bij. Wel, me wien, heg irunen kaart rosh kerbel. Dinch me Dutch mergion, and fairly John Seward. Barrows abound hence on to Castletown, that called the Fairy Hill is the most known, near Ballachurry. 'Tis an earthen cone. Some say the corpse of Reginald lies there, who fell in combat with the knight Ivor. The Fairy Hill, or Cronkhow Moor at Ballafesson, is an artificial mound raised up, as we can see in the Bayeux tapestry shows how they did it, to build a wooden pile fort on top. And it's probably one of the ones ordered by Magnus Barefoot in the late 1090s. The Chronicles of the Kings of Man and the Isles says, "The people of Galloway he, Magnus Barefoot, so constrained that he compelled them to cut timber and take it to the shore for the construction of fortresses." The island itself being bare of big trees, so we got the trees from Galloway. And this was a motte, the mound on which it was built. Reginald and Ivor also takes us to the Chronicles and the year 1249, when Reginald began his reign on the 6th of May, but was killed by a regicide, the knight Ivor, it says, in a certain meadow near the Church of the Holy Trinity in Rushen, to the south of the same church, and that came just 24 days later on the 30th of May 1249. Visitors to Incruniac some years ago, that was HOGIAU'R, GORORAU, the lads from the borders, playing a song about the Bee of Gwent, which was the bardic name taken by Augusta Hall, nee Waddington, and she was Lady Llanover, 1802 to 1896, a great patron of Welsh art.
Manx Radio.
Sé stasiwn yn asiwn sio radio fanning, as sé Claare na Gael vis reclaas en kaartnish, mish Robert Cutting Carswell, Robert a Carslach.
Have you heard tell of old Bobby Bob?
Now what the Reverend Stephen says next isn't entirely accurate. Throughout the land such little mounds arise, places of worship where men wailed their vice ere they could raise large temples, or regard such stately churches as are built by ward. Well, HOGIAU'R is, as I mentioned, a motte on which to build a castle. However, Reverend Stephen is lumping that in, it's a mound, lumping it in with barrows, burial mounds such as the Mule Circle or Castletown, which, prior to excavation and replacing of some stones, would have appeared as mounds of earth-top trouble. And he's comparing these prehistoric remains with the churches as are built by ward. And as we heard last time, William Ward, bishop from 1827 to 1838, commissioned the architect John Welsh to build several churches when Welsh worked here in the island between 1830 and 1838. Having mentioned stately churches, Thomas Stephen has been put in mind of the keels. Those little kirks the strolling monks did serve, ere manxmen from the Pope began to swerve. Sé eisian to dunnion tai benrich, leis a chab bléidir as na béis an maia. Fe fichiún tew mwy, ach fe him né agus an sien as olju. Te gien de rawi ve ginsige deisen hien mechion de HOGIAU'R de ridden begge, as we kunjen ege aru. Ach, dobber de saishis een ed hiejach ege, as genel denie de kajen jilu sien tred a kuun. As eis treve giri gien de ve eg eis, drele rish klai lesh lansit, on zacht hogorms griege bonnes. Lorerum vina on zacht fi girach. Dint sé dau kreeg om min as vamide, ged rau en ege arm ach rish bekken de grij, as kreeg gurish wegen we ege as mismerem de groene lesh as de geurge gei. Ve chi ginst dau kreeg o mi waande wegen we ege, man a rau ele ach tre honnig de rau mi Kenia, doort de rau in a vrout, en na jinnach moedige burre of hem hanna. VAIL of FLATHERTA was a singer from Oncuron Moor in County Galway and brought up in Carna. And here he sings a song from Connemara about the Phuca. The Phuca was a shape-shifting creature that causes giaull by night.
Say I does imagine in that Madonna as a gin and the corner the crocon in barn. Narin the men tachon Eliate void Elbogas gonna hunger was all. Senach na iagum far ballis boy or a carrel of toolish farlingen o god. Night Egloch Darlene, say you're gone, yoga, at a lot of in your list, at your right. Now say, Koran, Gael, Nishani and Nikina, Dog Matter, let it mean saying. Is neil my shan, Haragul Phuca. Oh, I'm saying the Jilum, go walk in the dinner, Nachanilis in Tom. On your Bachelom, at the half drive. Jeni spurt sicher morai. Gamin sen hat snowades nie snar huschen Phuca an hangir on bon. Na chwrs ni diles, o'r tygym cwna, as a deep darts and Phuca, a machas night. Nach a good we as a we're sana holoch, gonna have to and the nis got in on mom. Martin said in yellow, said a far Phuca, said a me shanoria of the night. That's it's a shire, go bonkra, kaduna, marabel Christian Phuca with the war.
VAIL of FLATHERTA and Arrane and Phuca. The Phuca can appear as a small creature, but turns into a dark horse with flowing mane and luminescent eyes, and also has the gift of human speech. So that's a song about the Phuca, and it was a song, Shan Norse style from Connemara. Eis ren I square vai, as vraigi mod a scribe mer ons tre. As tre chre mi machon, van a lauwenegge a crow. As eis les put de leester, vrije jim rau Amhran pech bielje. Huggy en feest fi jesh, gren rau giri kadder machen rid follet assem. Ach, inrichen de berg vissegge. No, ma va kriben ser, de vodach dunje tres jail. As eis vien, denim mi sors de chorm de instead rau pech en jachan. Gedinch mi deach quisjes shen, as eis chassis as wij gien de wij fi ledje, as fi trom chushach, gouds gaui me gael lau ons na lauwenegge, as durte de rau tres jail de beiden maandre, as me va mi arach fem carre, de liesen gien ersen mor fer gien a 4 sherem. Oh, wien, gan nadem ach Kenya. A sign dat leid out de wel en skriwen shaw ulju dollet. Smide de lure gedden yeri refusa, as me san. A few miles circuit by Port Arrane Bay and mines of Bradda. Now there were copper and lead mines of Bradda, perhaps as early as the Bronze Age, but certainly a commercial mine, a South Bradda mine, was there from 1710, although the North Bradda mine didn't open until 1860. And that would be a good 30 years after the Rev Stephen is writing. Despite appearances, the rock of Bradda Head is honeycombed with shafts and passages, and the mine house chimney still stands down at sea level below Milner's Tower. But anyway, a few miles circuit by Port Arrane Bay and mines of Bradda, and the whole long day most pleasantly you'll spend. Return longshore. You'll see black marble quarries, which of yore St. Paul's Cathedral graced. Sir Christopher could not well finish till he'd sent afar to little Mona dear for Poolvash stone. This is a reference to the black Poolvash marble used for steps at St. Paul's, which was designed and built by Sir Christopher Wren between 1675 and 1710. And more unaccompanied singing now, despite the name Femme de la Mer. The 50 members of this group are from Cornwall, and here they sing about Dolly Pentreath.
Dolly Pentreath was a mouse maid, way hey, a mouse maid. She was Cornish of tongue and a fish houser by trade. Way hey, Dolly Pentreath, lay down them fish against the cellar wall. Then don't forget the salt to cover them all. Lay down them fish against the cellar wall. There's 7 more baskets from this day's haul. With a cow strapped daily against her back, way hey against her back, she moves through the day till dark shadows crack. Way hey Dolly Pendry, lay down them fish against the cellar wall, then don't forget the salt to cover them all. Lay down them fish against the cellar wall, there's 7 more baskets from this day's haul. This weight of labour scored lines on her face, way hey, lines on her face, all the gathering and carrying all over the place. Way hey Dolly Pendry, lay down them fish against the cellar wall, then don't forget the salt to cover them all. Lay down them fish against the cellar wall, there's 7 more baskets from this day's haul. When Dolly was old to be laid in the ground, way hey, laid in the ground. They found filches in her pockets for her just as she was bound. Way hey Dolly Pendry, lay down them fish against the cellar wall, then don't forget the salt to cover them all. Lay down them fish against the cellar wall, there's 7 more baskets from this day's haul. Lay down them fish against the cellar wall, then don't forget the salt to cover them all. Lay down them fish against the cellar wall, there's 7 more baskets from this day's haul. Woo!
And that's the Cornish shanty crew, Femme de la Mer, 15 of ladies from Cornwall, and there they were singing about another lady from Cornwall, Dolly Pentreath, a mousel maid. Of those Poolvash black marble steps for St Paul's Cathedral in London, the Rev Stephen says, "This honour claims this obscure island lone. However, tell it not in Gath, but the Poolvash marble steps for St Paul's Cathedral proved not to be very hard wearing, so apparently it wasn't that long before the steps had to be replaced with a more durable marble from elsewhere. However, whilst we're in this vicinity, yet here a while delay. A spring arises from the salt rock, which chemic science prizes. Its latent virtues have not yet been tried. The great discovery were one of pride to some learned analyzer, and will give some gain to those who do by simples live." Well, unfortunately, although Cheltenham Spa had been developed by Captain Henry Skillicorn of Ballarach in Kirklonan, made into a fashionable spa resort, nothing came of this reputed spa at Poolvash. Perhaps some learned analyzer tried it, and it was too unexceptional to be a simple and natural remedy. A chanelli a chorabina rid manra te ort fagen dunje bach, as de vised de valley fi graiach ort, goller soul as jean ledden vrishege chree, as de higgle de velu creer beat he de greige treiton, gol maart de ballach as a weige. Maveen, zijn thou square by een show ege treiton, tam I gennacht een gotrai, ge de vel mi gemanre. Fast de beg. De Arthur kaart en in Gael, as de mi gennachten ons gin de sherne egen 3 square mi bij, maar so van tannachten les instut me gaan en lei. Wel, maveen, henk iru gies lug kerbel. Dunje go Ginley, American as Texas, as de gien go eges go oer, terwijl I gien bonus nieuw fossewel de rauwe en olgus chwilien bol, as de lidne tagerten griesier wege. Tammy koenacht en risch destemone waag, treba lidden stru gauwach en de reters jagsig klischek. Hier, jorisch dunje do. A visitor to Unchroniac on at least a couple of occasions now, Angus Lyon, with one of his own compositions, Angel of the South Side, featuring the whistle of Mark Duff. Stasiwn yn asiwnt yn eisio, sian dy greu gyn awrys radio fanning. Yn sio, ta siw geisiach rys Claare na Gael, fysgol chebel, Joran Peen, Robert Cutting Carswell, Robert a Carslach.
Did the ever hear tell of old Bobby Bob?
Tammy Shielton de wel shingen in Amhran, Lieden en Gawerton de wel shin smunnion de gin dunje sawel shin van in Aglen, as tashin de Phuca. Ta fissem nish na weg gint en de berg mishmoonje as de beiden giri cor Arrane cor graidau. Genel gesemmes son van meisje Morris on Shaw, ginstun de skielenegge as gedinch, Arthur dau wegge cor bi, ach, niai. Me veen tammy beggen rawache. Henk meisje Quincy P. Morris orm as mishma lummaken. Te gin de wel dunje de kinjach chit Arrane as ish na lummaken. Genel, son HOGIAU'R eber dech hier de grue care, mish kuna les huisjes dat me. Genel mi goil nere de grijs en nish. Zijn thou inch dat rollau, navel meisje Morris de kinjach Lord Slang, shen de grey, navel I riw Ristjorian na house had on, no de veli de fee my insich, as de vel immerke fee jeshega. We've been making our way back from Port Erin via Pool Vash. When you to Castletown return, you will have little cause to mourn the day departed. You will find the host and hostess very kind. But just before you go to feast, walk out a mile towards the east. There Derby Haven lies, a port distinguished by its little fort. Well, the Rev Stephen is a great one for suggesting we take a ramble whilst we wait for our food, and here he's suggesting we go out to the Derby Fort built on St Michael's Isle, named from the chapel there, otherwise known as Fort Island, because of the round battery built by James Stanley and Stanlach Moore, the 7th Earl of Derby, in 1645 during the Civil War, to protect what was then the busy port of Derby Haven. And in fact, this stone fortification replaced an earlier gun emplacement built about 1540 by Edward Stanley, the 3rd Earl of Derby. And, suggests the Rev Stephen, to increase your stock of knowledge, take a view of the new college. Well, we'll come back to the new college and on. 2 songs in Breton now for dancing. Old favourites here in Claare na Gael, in fact. It's François Louis Gael and P.J. Motreff.
Dansa på do père, de man ryggen där vi styr, dansa på do père, man ryggen där vi styr, dansa på do père, de man ryggen där vi styr, dansa på do père, man dörren där må du, dansa på do père, dansa på do père, ton les en arrière, man ryggen i skenet, dansa på do père, dansa man ryggen i skenet, dansa på do père, man ryggen i skenet, dansa på do père, dansa man ryggen i skenet, dansa på do père, jag var man angere, dansa på do père, dansa på do père. Och tourner en arrière, dansa på do père, applaudita un carré, dansa på do père, dansa på do père, applaudita un carré, dansa på do père, dansa på do père, dansa på do père, tourner en arrière, dansa på do père, applaudita un carré, dansa på do père, dansa på do père, applaudita un carré, dansa på do père. Dansa på do père, dansa på do père, tourner en arrière. Memmes strigiatriga, memmes strigiatriga, memmes strigiatriga. Acco'R magno noir, memmes strigiatriga, acco'R magno noir. Mérite de BBC, mérite de BBC, mérite Mérites au bébé, méritez au bébé, méritez au bébé, quand il m'a incarné, méritez au bébé, quand il m'a incarné. Bébé Habi, comme mérite bébé Habi, mérite bébé Habi, comme mérite bébé Habi, mérite bébé Habi, yagan kohen mahawi, mérite bébé Habi, yagan kohen mahawi. Yamahwar entre jou, 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 mais vous lutte malarongo, yamahwar entre jou, mais vous lutte malarongo. Dat big waren en paal, 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 we no harm, we no harm. Dat big waren en paal, we no harm, we no harm. Dat big waren drezen, 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 they shoot my hand away, dat big waren drezen, they shoot my hand away.
Dans pudu fer, dans en skillet-jarn, as me mistri gie trigath. Ta tri mordi as tri kitem, the dance of the iron saucepan, and I have 3 dogs and 3 cats, sung and danced there as well, in fact by F.L. Gael and P.J. Motreff. The new college, then, obviously, this is King William's College. The Rev Stephen is writing in 1832. The first stone of King William's College had been laid by the governor in 1830. Building works continued over the next few years until the official opening in August of 1833. So at the time that the Rev Stephen is writing, the new college, he's talking about going there to get some learning, but apparently it wasn't opened officially, at least. It may have been opened unofficially, shall we say, before they had a big special celebration to mark the official opening of it. But that wasn't until 1833, so a year after the Rev Stephen is writing. As we heard before, the design for King William's College was by Handsome and Welsh, and Edward Welsh of the firm was being assisted by his younger brother John Welsh, and John Welsh it was who stayed in the island and designed those churches, some with schoolrooms combined with them, for Bishop William Ward. And in fact John Welsh claims to have changed the design of the tower of King William's College, so it's not as originally designed by his brother Edward on behalf of Handsome and Welsh. The Rev Stephen suggests that the position of the new college has attracted some comment, as we're invited to take a view of the new college, where, on a bleak and sandy shore, it rises, while its friends deplore the forest plants that all must wither, blasted by the wind and weather. They'd evidently tried to landscape the area around it and plant some trees there, but the popular view apparently is that they're not going to take in that position. Ach hwre mach, the rawi cortatnis thou, clash ne lord slang Americanach, as tre bi van mi kion fenish, as the rau pecher bi on be courageas, door te ridden cho ach. De haures em in de valley crew de cholyrid, no de valley len fregertach de creer bi Elliot de grey. Ach, sjochen acht les slang. A semus ma hon heen de ginnum riu lord slang. A semus ne maia les Arthur, son genel me a glashen ne, ginno imagine lied gouds nish. Well, hai mansje morris schies ljorum. As wij gien de wij go man as go ginnel as oddege. Ach, dat mi fagen son ulju, de rawi fi feshach. Rawe me laus a lauegge, as doorte ons acht homillish, in a Lucy. Ta fissem ne vel mi maide lure de rege yielen de vregen begge. Ach, verin sheber, de jinnach u furchten gerrit hou fedden dunje gemaie shen. Now, this next piece starts off as though it belongs in a musical set in the Wild West, perhaps, something like Paint Your Wagon or Annie Get Your Gun, but it's Kurjan Kujak singing Hunron, Let's Go. See what you think.
Hunron, Kurjan Kujak, Hunron, 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 to the sledge near us door, to the fries on your wee, iron land. Cheer, Marish, Manel and Maclear, in a valley, and ski, Tashin, Bjors, and the
Gurgeon Cúideach, with one of the songs written by Annie Kissick and Kerry Ellen Clegg for the Bunscoilgach musical presentations. The jinnach who chit of a cumreg in a shach brain egg a shen lesh na lampen trethouse square vai. Nach jinnu a kjanla de strien en jormpien as ligdun gul shees a rare jou'r Cúideach, a shingen gimmen roin fo grindes doobel. After our extra walk to see the Derby Fort and the new college, we're on our way back now to Castletown. Here ends the day. Now go and sup. Be temperate to be early up. Compose yourself and go to sleep, and rise next morning at the peep o' day. The earlier you go, the more you'll see, the more you'll know. And we'll be joining the Rev Stephen for another excursion as he starts us off the next morning, taking us out on our second day of excursions with him to show us the island, as he's criticised tourists for trying to do it all far too fast otherwise. Don't forget that this coming Tuesday, the 21st of June, is International Make Music Day. La giaull, la giaull. And on International Make Music Day, it started in France, in fact, 40 years ago, and it's an international event. And for this year, you're invited to film yourself in an iconic spot, playing some live music, and post that online and make that part of this international celebration, International Make Music Day. As Shene was Claare na Gael Shaw. We close with music by singer-songwriter, multi-instrumentalist and sound engineer Owen Shears from Cúm, the Valley of the Cletur, in the north of Ceredigion, a bit northwest from Aberystwyth in fact, and he records under the name Gwenynen. There's a chance to chill out coming up your way at 7 o'clock when Chris Pearson presents 2 hours of the best chill out music. Then at 9, Judith Lay will be here to ease us into Monday morning. And so until the next time, this is Robert Cutting Carswell, Robert de Carslach.
Oh, Bobby Bob.
Wishing you a very good night. Eve, I'm a creeriu, as orserye, as my yeary and shed you will you.
Sit Makari Merchai Chario Rodi Hebia Chomni Bruiden Dawith Gari Bobin Running Shur Hail Banan of Bronne Lilia Bridge and Elwio the Yaman Oilit Coffee Ahead Dalin Dalau Aflanam Vekiad Vech Afanyam Perdat Buinos Weri Tanim Serch Venes Gangar at Hen Fuhani Am Loyd and Roisi Hebia Chumni sy'n nôl ym mhen y blwyddyn a meddwl cael ei chwmni wedyn. Y ferch y tabsau'n hawdd ei deall o Philistia chael neb arall. Dim hell a ddeian ag bos rwy'n priodi cyn yn eich nos. Awr iawn o bos gwadnog yn rhedeg ar ei ffrwst. Awr iawn o bod petrus nod at ar ei trwst. Y derfer non a mis gymeillion man. Mae fi'n a bai mor hased im nam o ferch parla. Yn gaffo at ei ddŵr, yn rhaid i'r gof i weithio, tra paro'r hir mewn ddŵr. Mae'n rhaid i'r ddafad garir, ein bach trwbwyd o wan. Mae'n rhaid i'n mynd a'i gymryd, y sel sydd ar fy rhan. Y sel sydd ar fy rhan. Y sel sydd ar fy rhan.